Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And today's episode 147 of Podcast 2 for 1. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, that notification bell. That way, after all future episodes of Podcast 2 for 1, as well as all the cool content we have at 2 for 1 Studios, youtube.com/2 for 1 Studios, the best place to consume the content. And of course, if you didn't know, and let's be honest, you fucking didn't, we are sponsored by Kapow Comics, located at 4047 East Kill Avenue in Sherwood, Arkansas. Though they have comic books, collectibles, graphic novels, and of course, special guest appearances throughout the year. Kapow. Episode 147, and we are talking Rian Johnson's, Daniel's favorite Star Wars filmmaker, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, or as Rian Johnson likes to call it, and just me, just Glass Onion. Fuck the colon thing.
Yes.
That's a stupid fucking subtitle thing. He was upset about the title because it's just like, oh, you're not smart enough to know this is the same franchise. And
to be fair, a lot of people aren't, or at least aren't tuned in enough to understand that. And I get it from him, and as a creative, I get it. But like, if I was a marketing person, there's no way that Knives Out isn't in the title. That movie did too well. You're literally saying no to money. You're getting less viewers and less seats and butts if they don't know that this is a direct sequel to that. Because otherwise, Glass Onion, that doesn't give any indication, that title, about what any of this movie's about, who's in it, nothing. If you saw that on a title, you'd be like, what's that? I'm not watching that. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but it makes complete sense from a marketing standpoint. Complete sense.
It makes like 5% makes sense. I mean, like it makes sense.
It's name recognition, man. It's the reason why we only get sequels. It's the reason why the Halo TV show was apparently a generic sci-fi TV show that they already had made, and they just threw the Halo name on there because they were like, got nothing else to do with it, because that's IP. Because the only thing that matters is like Hollywood is obsessed with IP, and like I get it. It makes more money that way, but it is less. Maybe
I forgot about the Halo TV show. Like, we reviewed that too. Like,
I know. Aren't you glad you forgot it? Because I'm glad.
Yeah, but I assume we're gonna watch the second season and see how much of a dumpster fire it goes.
Oh my gosh, I'll try.
My point is, Daniel, there's a little franchise called James Bond, and none of those have the number 2 in it. None of those have the same name repeated in the franchise, and it's also another Daniel Craig franchise.
But when they list them, I think usually it says James Bond : that thing. Like, even when it's in the movie theaters. You're wrong. Is it not?
You're wrong. No, okay. It's not a thing.
All right.
The thing you do see is 007. That's always in the title. Like, it's...
Well, then there you go. Come on. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's semantics.
It's stylistically in the title. It's not like... sometimes it's a part of the title. Like, sometimes it's like 2
Then
O's.
It's semantics. It's the same thing I'm talking about.
But no. When people go to Wikipedia, they don't fucking say... you ain't stylized in the Wikipedia title.
Okay, but if 007 isn't in the title, you don't know that any of those movies are 007 movies unless you watch the trailer. And there's so many people that will never watch a trailer but go to a 007 movie because of what it is and the IP that it is.
That's true. People only go to No Time to Die because they know it's a James Bond movie because they saw the trailer. No one.
But there are people that know a new James Bond is. But someone might say, I know there's a new James Bond coming out. You don't need to me show the trailer or what the title is. I'm going because it's James Bond. That's what I'm saying. There's people like that. There's plenty of people like that about the James Bond franchise.
My point is, people are smart enough to keep up with the MCU. People are smart enough to know that this movie with the same character is part of another franchise. And here's the big thing: the movie is good enough that you don't need to be connected to the other thing, because the only thing that connects it is the character. That one detective. You could literally watch Glass Onion and then you could watch Knives Out, and there's no difference in terms of order. You're right.
You're right.
That's my point. And like, I just hate stupid shit. Like, not, I think it's just, I hate, one thing I fucking hate that you'll never see me do. I'm going to sit there, and if I ever get to make movies, God willing, I'm going to sit there and think, okay, the title of this movie, how's it going to land in your Apple TV library? I fucking hate it when a sequel is earlier than the fucking first one. It pisses me off. Like, I hate
Alphabetically.
shit like I hate that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it just
Well, then
it
if
makes me mad.
if the sequels then have a title colon with an after title, that'll never happen. So you should want this. You should ideally wish that Glass Onion was titled Knives Out 2 : Glass Onion, because that would solve your problem.
Typically, like it's still going to follow the alpha. This is sorry, everyone. You're here for Glass Onion. You're getting like a marketing thing. But no, I mean it's going to still follow like the alphabetical order after the colons, and even trust me, Daniel.
But at least they'll be closer together.
Well, yeah, I don't care if they're. I mean, they obviously they're going to be close together. I mean, you can't help it if a movie sneaks in between them on your library. You can help it if fucking Spider-Man Into the or Amazing or whatever. Let me give an example. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is before the first Avenger. That's not true because Winter W is after F. But I'm saying it as an example. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit. That shit bothers me. So that's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. And then, anyway, the director wanted it to be just Glass Onion, so that's why it should fucking be, Daniel. That's the ultimate be all. Fuck the marketing team.
Fuck the people that pay for the movie. They don't count. They don't.
Fuck them. They made them way more money.
I in theory, completely agree. So anyway, back to the movie that we're reviewing today, Glass Onion. You may have thought from the first 10 minutes we were reviewing the title of Glass Onion, just the title.
Yeah.
But we're not. We're actually going to talk about the movie. We promise.
Wait until we review the credits at the end. This will be a whole 30 minutes,
Yeah, exactly. So
Daniel, real quick, I'm very curious to know your thoughts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know your relationship with the first movie, Knives Out, a little bit, and then tell me what your general impressions were of Glass Onion: A Knives Out mystery.
Yeah, sure. I really enjoyed Knives Out. It didn't blow me. I wasn't like one of those people like couldn't stop talking about it necessarily or something like that. I think Rian Johnson is very clearly a good filmmaker. I think he is one of the people in films that is just, he kind of is doing things in his own way. He's not just following trends. He's got his own view. He's got his own skill set, and he makes his kind of movies. And I think that should be celebrated and cherished. And every time one of his movies come out, we should do that, because he's not just giving us the same thing that pretty much all other sectors of Hollywood feel like they're giving us. At least I'll say like mainstream Hollywood. There's plenty of indie films. There's plenty of indie directors doing amazing things and new innovative things. But as far as like mainstream directors doing something different, it's like Rian Johnson, maybe some of the horror directors that are like A24 directors, but like, so all that to say, I really enjoyed Knives Out. I thought it was a really fun movie. I thought the characters were really fun. There was a great chemistry between them all. I thought, it's one of those things of like, I liked Daniel Craig in it. He probably wasn't my favorite character though of the first movie. He's enjoyable. I think the Rooster Cogburn kind of accent is just a little bit over the, like, it just is a little too much for me sometimes. But it's a genre film we just don't get very often or at all in the mainstream anymore, like a whodunit. You know what I mean? And it's executed, I would say, exactly like it was meant to. Like, I would say his vision, he executes it to 100%. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As a movie genre and as a movie, that's not going to be my go-to genre. Whodunits as a movies, it's just like, there's something about it, like you watch it once and there's no point in watching it again, personally. I don't know if that's part of it, but like, I don't know, like that there wasn't as much maybe tension or as like drama as that would have kept me more engaged longer, but I liked it. So going to Glass Onion, I liked it. I don't think it's as strong as Knives Out for some reasons we can talk about in here shortly. But I feel like it is very much in line with that. It's Rian Johnson making his kind of movie the way he wants to make it. And it feels like that. It feels like a different kind of movie than we get in a lot of ways. And it executes it executes just like he wants it to. At least it seems to me, to his vision. So yeah, those are my thoughts initially.
Yeah, so I do I really do like Knives Out. I think I love the cast. First of all, like bringing Don Johnson in and anything to me is like a treat. I mean, I'm a huge Miami Vice fan, and I used to watch stuff like that. So Don Johnson, and of course, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, which
I think she was the star of that first movie.
She was great. I mean, I really like Don Johnson. Of course, you have Michael Shannon. I think the cast,
that's right,
was stronger. This cast was stronger in this 100%. One. You have Christopher Plummer. Like R.I.P. He was fantastic in it. He's like someone you want in a whodunit just from his voice and his presence. And then you had I can't think his assistant or like Blanc's I guess private assistant, or not private assistant, but cop guy. I'm not sure. He's
Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah, so he's in Atlanta, great. And he's also in Get Out, right? He's fantastic.
And Judas and the Black Messiah, I think he got an Academy Award nomination if he did not get an award.
Dude, that was like at the top sidebar. That was at the top of my list that year, and I still haven't seen it yet. It's on HBO Max. Wow. I've been dying to watch it.
I haven't either, actually.
I've been dying to watch it.
Yeah, me too.
Foam with the mouth. So like I think the cast was strong. You have Chris Evans, and of course this is right after Infinity War or Endgame Infinity War.
So it's great.
So it's like you're getting someone playing this, the exact opposite of Captain America. Which it is hard to remove yourself from that. It is. It's just part of it sometimes. And of course I love Anna de Armas. I think she's awesome. I can't wait for. She's also in No Time to Die, and she's great in that. And then she has her own, it's called Ballerina, her own John Wick spinoff coming out pretty soon.
I've been reading about, or like I've seen some press about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're in the middle of shooting that right now. So my point is, I think the cast is stacked Knives Out. And I think it's really great. And I do like watching whodunits multiple times. I think there are things I do pick up sometimes, differently, but I think the fun thing for me is, like I do with all these movies, I get to show somebody else, and I already know what's coming, and I kind of like am watching in the corner of my eye, like, are you catching this? Are you catching that? I think that's the fun part. It's just that's the thing I like about movies anyway. So I really like Knives Out. I mean, it was nominated for Academy Award. I think it may have won Best Original Screenplay that year at the Academy Awards. And
I think that's right.
Rian Johnson has a history of kind of movies like that with Brick, which is his first movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which is an amazing indie film.
Great movie.
It's one of the best indie movies of all time. Brick, and then he's always made like, you're right, original kind of stuff. Looper, Brick.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else. I mean, like, of course, The Last Jedi, which if our viewers want to know, they can go watch episode 6 of Podcast.
Nice. Whoa, that can't believe it's episode 6. That's
episode
crazy.
6. It was 3 years ago. It's called The Last Jedi Debate, Donovan versus Daniel.
Yes, I remember. That's a great title. I'm pretty sure I came up with it, and I will take credit because that's a great title.
Yeah,
and actually, I think I can confirm no one has debated Last Jedi since that podcast. I think we put the period on the whole conversation, and the world just accepted our point of view and moved on. And I can say that I'll just say it. You're welcome. So
exactly. We're a public service, And honestly, the next episode, which was the Rise of Skywalker spoiler review, really helped stop that debate, because then it just kind of like. We didn't care anymore. That was we flipped sides, honestly, which is also interesting. But so I think we're sorry guys, we're getting on all kinds of tangents today. It's my fault. But Knives Out I really enjoy it. I think it's great, and I it's one of those things, like it's not just blowing me away, but it's oh man, this is the best movie ever made, like for me.
Yes.
But it's doing everything it needs to do to be an amazing whodunit film. And I do love those.
I agree.
It's like it's doing exactly what it needs. And I think Glass Onion is also doing exactly what it needs. And the fun thing is Rian Johnson does have this ability. And he tried this with The Last Jedi, and I think some of it worked. I know you didn't think a lot of it worked, but he has a thing of subverting. I hate saying it because I say it all the time.
Yes.
Subverting expectations and playing on old tropes and kind of things that you expect.
Yes.
He's really good at that, And
I want to debate you a little bit there. I don't know if you can get into it now because that's the ending conversation. But if we want to just get into it, we can get into it because that is something I have a strong opinion on.
Let's tee it up because let's set it closer to the end. So Glass Onion. I think it's great. I love Bautista. I fucking love Edward Norton. I think Blanc does a great job again. And beyond that though, I can't even think all the other actors. Like they're okay.
It was
they're not.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think I can't think of their names, but
Angela Harkness was in it.
Sure, yeah.
Agatha Harkness. Agatha was in it.
I do love her. Catherine Hahn, is that her name?
Yes,
so
Catherine
I think.
Hahn.
So but it's not the same as Don Johnson, Jamie Lee
No,
Curtis, Michael Shannon,
no,
Christopher Plummer,
no,
Anna de Armas, Chris Evans.
No,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
but one, it's
like,
smaller, right? It's less people.
Maybe
I
I don't know if it's smaller, but like anyway, it feels a little less in that way. And part of it is
I agree.
the good thing is that you're not attaching yourself to those other characters they've played, because to me they're not as noticeable. But
Yeah.
I do think that part was lost a little bit in terms of just the stacked castness. But I will say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, I mean, the whole time, the best thing about a whodunit is you want to feel like you're smarter than everyone else as an audience member, and you figured it out, and then you want that, but you want to feel like you figured it out. But then a really good filmmaker will let you figure it out, or at least think you did, and actually you didn't figure it out, but it was still there the entire time. Like, the thing that was staring you in the face was always there. Like, you don't, like, the Sixth Sense. We have talked about this a lot, Daniel. Sixth Sense is a perfect example. When you go back and watch, you're like, oh my God, this makes sense. The worst example is also a Shyamalan project, and it's Devil, where the killer.
I was thinking The Village, but yeah, either one.
It's not as bad as the Devil, and then because the killer died in the beginning, and there's no way that you could have figured it out because it's just they're pulling the rug from underneath you, and people get robbed of the chance to figure it out themselves, which is the most important thing about a mystery or a whodunit.
I agree,
and because if the thing is, if either A, you're surprised and you feel like they got one over you, or B, you feel like you're really smart for figuring it out. That's the two outcomes you want. So I think Glass Onion also, I think it does enough. I think it does. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's fun, and it's hard to, I guess really to talk about is kind of just like, I guess you're kind of right, Daniel. It's kind of talking about the end here and then kind of how that informs everything else. So I guess that's the way I have to talk about is the end.
Well,
I think it's,
and I'll say,
work backwards.
Yeah, and on the way there, I do think, a large portion of this movie, or a key part of this movie, was a flashback, and that just is always going to be a detractor for me. I just think that's a weakness if you're having to go back and show us things that you intentionally didn't show us. That to me feels a little bit like The Devil kind of thing, where it's like the only reason we couldn't figure it out up to this point is because things had happened off screen that they intentionally hid from us till now. And that feels a little bit like, okay, like that doesn't feel satisfying to me personally.
It is a long flashback.
And it's just like, it flashes back to points we've already seen, but just shows what happened after it. That's where it feels like
it's literally a different perspective, though. That's the point of it. And I think the thing is too, is
it's Benoit's perspective the whole time, though, isn't it? In the flashbacks,
the flashback is, I would say, it's her perspective. It's I can't think of her name, but it's her twin sister. That's the perspective. It's
some
LeBlanc
of it, yeah.
And her twin. It's LeBlanc and her twin sister.
But I thought LeBlanc was in every scene.
He's in, half of them. Because she's like hearing. She's now eavesdropping on all the people and getting. She's the one getting on. She's actually she's the one who does all the information for LeBlanc.
She does
LeBlanc
all the detective
doesn't do much of anything.
No.
Yeah, he just kind of he just pieces some things together, and he even he's even a gag about it, like, you're really good at this, kind of thing. You're way better at this than you thought you were, kind of thing.
So talking about the ending, I think I like Rian Johnson's instinct to subvert expectations, but I think both with this movie and The Last Jedi, if you're going to subvert what we're expecting, it needs to be better than what we were expecting. And I don't think that was the case with either of these films. And going to Glass Onion, because we talked about Last Jedi, the twist is that the bad guy was dumb enough to do it in the most obvious way that no one would suspect the whole time. Like, when Benoit's saying it's just dumb, that's what I feel like about this plot. That's what I feel like. Well, this is dumb. Like, I just came in here thinking there was going to be something interesting or smart that I'm trying to figure out. And the twist is, no, nothing smart was happening. It was all dumb. And you guys were trying to be so smart, you just missed it. And I guess I'm just like,
I think
that's not one of the two endings of a whodunit that I like. It's not I'm smart. I nearly had it. I almost got there. Or it was so, they thought through this so well, and they misdirected us so well We just never saw it coming, but it was there the whole time. That's not how I felt about this. It wasn't there the whole time. It had flashbacks that had to set up the ending for me to even know what happened. And then when it gives me the ending, it's just like, oh, that's okay. It's not better to me than if one of those characters had been a criminal mastermind and like at the last sec, you know what I mean? Like that is a more interesting end to this movie than, yeah, it was the guy you thought it was the whole time, and the reason you didn't suspect it is because he's such an idiot and so full of himself that you couldn't think someone would be so dumb. But in fact, it's like the real question is not that the killer was smart, he was just so dumb you couldn't see it. And that just feels like, well, that's I don't know. That's not satisfying to me as a whodunit enjoyer.
Well, I think two things. One, I see what you're saying, because you want. I feel like, and I want this to almost 99% of the time. I want the big mystery of like the very complicated thing, and like it's like, man, this thing is so smart. How the villain did it, or how the killer didn't do it, or whatever. Blah blah blah. And like you feel like, when you put all the puzzle pieces together, you feel like, oh man, this is like, like you feel accomplished by figuring out what the detective, right? Like you feel like you did, which we talked about. So, but I think the thing that Ryan Johnson wanted is exactly what you're feeling, in terms of he wanted like this is the second movie, and also it's one in thousands of whodunit movies. Like this is one of the oldest genres in filmmaking. And like what's the thing that what's something that I haven't seen a whole lot of, or story-wise, and it's like it's a little more simpler than you think it is, because like especially after watching, it's like he also has to come up after Knives Out and think, okay, everyone is like trying to piece this thing together, which Knives Out isn't super complicated, and it ends up also being kind of a simple thing of like,
yes,
we told you in the beginning what actually happened, and that's kind of what happened, was that he you know what I'm saying, like he killed himself. He did kill himself. That's what we told you in the beginning. What happened? He killed himself. It's there the whole time. It's not exactly how you thought it happened, or so I think in this one it's kind of like, okay, he knows everyone is going to, like, from the moment of the trailer, everything, they're going to try to like it's what you do and who done it. So it's like, I think it was smart in the fact that it was different. I don't think if he had failed in terms of just kind of goes back to our Last Jedi. I think he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. I just don't think it was for your liking.
Yeah, I think that may be what it is. Sometimes it feels like Ryan Johnson subverts expectations just because he wants to subvert expectations, and not because there's anything he's trying to like say about those expectations, or like, you know what I'm saying, like that. And
I think I 100% know the theme of that. This is my other point, was that it's what he's clearly saying is like, just because all these people are lying about who they are. Every single one of them, right? And like we're learning that about all the people. It's not Edward Norton up until the end. Like, and like the thing is, just and as even as an audience member, we get the impression that Edward Norton is super smart based on all the information on the other ones.
I feel like we get the impression that he's like a rich tech bro, but I don't ever get the feeling that it feels like he just used big words without ever knowing what they mean. It feels like that from the beginning. It feels like someone trying to look smart. I never got the impression that he was actually smart in the world.
I felt like he was, I can't believe I just said this, a disruptor. I mean, and that's funny, that's in the thing, and that's in the movie. But like, I feel like he's like, and he's like an Elon Musk kind of type, right? I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty clearly he was almost directly modeled after him.
I don't know if I think Elon Musk is super smart. Like, I think but I get more of the impression that Elon is very good at finding really smart people to do the things that he wants. And that's what smart people do, right? That's how you make a good movie. You find good people that are better than you at all these other positions to help you make a good movie, right?
Sure.
So I think that's kind of the thing. I think he was breaking down the mystique that like maybe we put too much stock in these people who are better off than us. They're just the same as us, but they just happen to whatever. I think that's kind of his thing. And the thing he tells you that in the beginning with all the other ones, and then by the end of it, he's kind of like, "Hey, Edward Norton's also not that great." And the funny thing is, I wasn't smart enough to catch some of those things that he was saying throughout the movie that we kind of like LeBlanc's like, you said this, and like that's not even fucking words. Like I wasn't.
I noticed that.
That's good. I'm so wrapped up in like figuring out who done it. I'm not really even paying attention too much to some of the fancier, whatever they're throwing in there. So like for me that really worked, And I think the big thing too is it's Edward Norton, and I think he does a good job acting. He does Edward Norton. He's great. He's a great actor.
Yeah.
So I think he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. It's just not what you like, which is almost an argument for The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I get it. It just again goes back to me that like if you're gonna subvert it, I need to be like, holy crap, that was so much better than anything I could have expected, basically, or at least as good as what it felt like you were going towards. And like I like the idea of subverting expectations. I just feel like for me, Rian Johnson hasn't done it, and I've actually felt like that was better than what I was expecting. Every time it feels like, okay, it's either or it's no. You know what I mean? And I it's the thing of like, I really enjoy Rian Johnson's filmmaking and storytelling. I think he's got a talent, and I think he's got a unique voice. And I think we should be celebrating and championing his films just because they're not just now it's franchise, but it's not just like, another IP that's going to get milked to death, at least so far. It just feels like he's still trying to do something different. He's still got unique ideas that aren't tied to a new Star Wars thing or whatever. And so I feel like this isn't me saying I think it's a bad movie or that even that the plot is bad or anything like that. I just feel like I don't feel like he's perfected his subverting expectations yet. I feel like he's tried it a few times and with mixed results, in my opinion. And I think it hasn't hit right yet. He's good at making you think you're going somewhere and then you turning at the last second, and you never seeing that coming. I just have not liked where we've U-turned to yet. And I think once he can do that, what he does well, which is leading us to expectations that he will subvert. He's really good at leading us to where we think we're going to go, and then at the last second flipping it on its head. I just think he needs to work more on like what we're flipping to, and then I think it will like hit, at least for me, like nothing else. And I think that's just my opinion, but like that's how I feel.
Well, his last 4 movies have all hit over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, listen, he's doing well. He's doing well.
Pretty impressive.
Maybe I'm the minority here, but that's fine. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I totally hear you. I think that I get it. I just think that it's just not for you. I think that's the big thing. I think he's executing pretty damn well on a filmmaking level and like on a dialogue level. And I think,
but everything else about the movie is for me. Like I don't. It's hard for me to come up with any complaint. Like everything else he does that like isn't. I can put up to like if it's not just really connecting for me, I can put it up to genre. Right? It's like, okay, sure. Well, I didn't necessarily love the cast of characters we got this time. But you know what? That's this genre. We're going to get a big cast. It's going to be different every time. Like I can get past that and still keep enjoying everything else this movie is doing well. And I think when it comes to the plot part, that's just where, and I think part of it too is it's the end of the movie. So that's the taste in my mouth when the credits roll. And that
is the most important thing.
That to me is just like that it ends on the movie ends on the most dissatisfying part of the movie for me, and so it leaves a worse taste in my mouth than I think the movie deserves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to fumble in a whodunit, you don't want to do it in the end,
and again, I mean, it's pretty subjective. I feel like it fumbles a little bit, but I may be the only one with that opinion on the internet. I don't know. I haven't really been engaged with the conversation.
Well, here I have 2 questions for you. One, do you think the first movie does it? I almost feel like we need to break down the first movie sometime. I don't think it's that complicated. I do. That's the thing. I really don't.
No.
But,
and I probably should have watched. I really wanted to watch it again before Glass Onion and before this pod because I'm blurry on a lot of details.
Yeah, I watched it pretty close to, like a month ago. I rewatched it.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, because Kimberly had never seen them, and then I kind of like, hey, I want to watch Glass Onion is coming out, and I want you to watch Knives Out just to see if you like that kind of movie, and then blah blah blah. She really enjoyed both of them too. But here and we also had her sister over, and her sister really liked it as well. What? So two questions. My first one is: does the first movie? Does it? What did it do? I guess it did subvert, because he's subverting expectations in that one too. I think, right? Like,
well, a little bit, in that it wasn't just like the idea was that one person killed this, and then it ended up being two different people that were kind of like, the girl was Ana de Armas, I think, was like involved with the suicide, or she was the last one in the room before he killed himself, and so she was the obvious suspect, and that's true. She really was there, and part of that was true. But the other things they were also assuming she was doing was actually Chris Evans, right? Wasn't that kind of like the twist?
yeah, I mean, Chris Evans was, yeah, essentially. I mean, the big thing was that she got the vials. She thought she got or Chris Evans switched the vials.
That's right.
But she was such a good nurse that she felt the weight of it, and she gave him the right vial. She told him she gave him the wrong vial, and then
I just lost audio. Can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. 1 second, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. I need like one of those like beeps and like a sign to put up with like a technical.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, weird. Okay, I don't know what happened. Weird.
Yeah, all good. Back up a little bit. I missed a bit of what you were saying.
Sorry. So I was saying that. So what happened was, essentially there was 2 vials of medicine, I think.
Yes.
Chris Evans switched the labels.
Yes.
She dropped them. She gave him the right one because she's a good nurse and knew the weight of it.
Yes.
She's like, oh, wait, I gave you the wrong one because Chris Evans switched the labels.
Right.
If they had waited 5 minutes, then they would have found out that nothing was happening to him. But he killed himself to protect her.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I mean, it is,
it's more.
It's smart ending. I mean, it's a fun
I
ending.
like it. No, I like it. And I'll just say, like, again, this is fuzzy memory, but going back to Knives Out, I don't remember the ending being like the best part for me necessarily. I felt like the best part of Knives Out for me was all the characters and all just the journey we went through with all these characters and their interactions together. There was just so much good chemistry between these different like all-star actors, all in the same room together, and just the suspense of it, the mystery of it. It had such a great tone just carried through it. Like I'm not saying that the ending was bad for me. I just remember it feeling like it didn't blow me away either. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, that was an ending. That worked.
I think one thing that Knives Out has, I think, is that it lends itself to the genre very well. They're both movies are dealing with like high class citizens, but Knives Out 1 is dealing with like a family in like the South, or not the South per se, but like old legacy kind of stuff, right? Where it's like there's siblings and there's backstabbing, there's history between all of them throughout their whole lives, and there's hierarchy or whatever. This is way more tech involved, way more science involved, way more social media, like modern day. Like
it sometimes felt like it was trying to be hip to the younger. Like sometimes it felt like it was intentionally trying to connect with a younger audience that just came off a little ham-fisted for me. Like the social media references. It's just, I get it. And that may have been like a studio note. Like, listen, we got to appeal to like 18 to 25-year-olds somehow, like, or
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I think like it's one of those things. If you're going to like, hey, I want my antagonist group to be these, high profile modern social media people that are always in the spotlight. Whether it be a politician, whether it be a social media person, or YouTuber, or right wing YouTuber, whatever.
But it felt like
all the Musk time. Yeah.
Okay, so in Knives Out, it felt like all of these were just people, like characters you would find. Glass Onion, all the characters felt like caricatures of people like in social media worlds or like on the internet, right? Like the ideology that those people have, or like how they live their lives, or like what their priorities are, or whatever. And it just felt like that just didn't connect for me, because like, for one, you're not actually showing these people as like, you're not trying to make some like interesting, critique or like insight, trying to say something about this. It doesn't feel like to me, or if you are, I'm not getting the message, other than you're saying this is dumb, I don't like it. And that just is like, that's a bore for me. That's just kind of like, okay, like that's just kind of a surface level. That's an easy thing. Like I'm thinking about like, we're thinking about commentary or like someone critiquing something. What's the most boring, basic level thing you could say? I like it or it's dumb. You know what I mean? Like that's like that's just like as shallow as it gets when it comes to like critiquing something. And so for me, it just like I didn't have a favorite character almost. And that feels like Edward Norton was good as his character. I didn't like the character. None of the other characters were like likable in any way. Whereas like Knives Out had a lot of likable characters. Lakeith Stanfield, like he even had just more people that were police and detectives that were likable. Or Anna de Armas's character who was very likable. Even what's her name? The older lady I'm blanking on her name. She was just in Jamie. Yes, even her, she was playing kind of this like, posh, a little bit like, rich woman, but she was so likable in that role. Like I enjoyed my scenes with her. I didn't really feel about that with any of the characters in Glass Onions. There weren't scenes where I'm like, oh, this is such good chemistry. Like, yeah. It's just like, it just felt like they were plot devices or just narrative devices to represent whatever this movie was trying to say about social media and rich people. Like it's just for me I think that was notably worse for me than Knives Out.
I think that's a valid argument. I think the people you do connect with the most, at least that are the most fun, is Bautista and mainly because the other ones are like a politician and then like a model. Like those people aren't like inherently. The problem is like
oh man, are you kidding me?
You're saying like Knives Out, those people are real people. What? Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Our connection is just poor.
No, that was really weird. It just like fast forwarded through everything you were just saying right there.
Yeah. Well, I think, one thing a minute ago, like you went completely silent and then like you froze and I was like, I knew what you were still going to say. Yeah. So I still, okay. I was catching pieces of it. So I still keep coming with it. But my connection was going out or something. So I'm sorry, everybody, if you're having a poor podcast experience. But I think like some of the characters in Glass Onion, their role in society basically means they're not a real person. A politician, the person you see as a politician is not a real person. The person you see as a social media model, that's not a real person. You're seeing,
but there are real people underneath there. They're just not letting us see them. And that's what this movie could have done. This movie could have said, let's explore the cracks between the persona that are there with everyone. Because as fake as everyone acts, when they go to bed at night and they close their eyes, they're still just with themselves. There's no one else in the room that they can act for anymore. And so they have to lay in there with who they are. And that person still exists, even if they try to remove them from their mind all the time. So I guess my point is like,
that's valid, but I think that all things considered, he did a lot in a span of 2 hours. And I think, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we have to have everything, all the list checked off to make like, I like the movie. It's probably my top 5 at the moment of last year. And that's not to say that it was such a good movie. I just think last year is a little low for me across the board.
Sure.
There's been movies that like where's my top 5 that are now like not even my top 10 anymore. Like it's just like I just feel like we had a lot of movies come out last year. Overall, though, I haven't been just blown away last year like I have been in previous years. Then part of that's the MCU has kind of been lagging in a lot of places, and then I still love the Batman even though it's got some really strong issues at the end. But we keep saying that to every pod. I think it has to be known that like you're wrong if you think that the end's good. But
dude, there are some people that like
I know
that is their favorite movie of all time.
I think I saw a podcast yesterday, and it was like the guy was like, "Man, the best parts of the end are like all those Riddlers come in at the end, and like the statement it made on society." And I'm like,
if the best part of a movie is the statement it's making on society, and it's not Joker saying, we live in a society, then I don't want to hear it. like that's just like what if it's not Joker literally saying we live in a society. Stop trying to make society commentating. Like if you're not going to have the insane clown be as insane as people that try to make big statements on society, then I don't want to hear it. So
yeah, no, I agreed. Anyway, Glass Onion, Knives Out. Look, here's the bottom line, as they would say. I hope they make 8 more of these movies with LeBlanc. He could do this role for 20 more years and not have to get in shape for it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
agreed.
He doesn't do any action. It's like the opposite. I mean, like he wants to be in good shape. I get that. Why wouldn't you be? But he doesn't have to. He can sit there and it's like Matlock. You just like, he's in a courtroom all day. You know what I mean? Like you just sit there and speak, and then you do a good, monologue at the end,
Right.
and like,
Right.
The thing is, here's an interesting thing I want to ask you, Daniel, and maybe it's not necessary. Do you think they need to do more with LeBlanc's character? I mean, like,
why wouldn't you?
I feel like it's obviously the fun part's the mystery, and you get a little hint in this one that, like, he's not an arc, but it's like, he's down in the dumps a little bit. He needs a challenge.
Sure.
We don't know anything about his personal life. I think it is confirmed that he's gay. Like it's like his sexual, preference is gay.
Did they Manon did that in the movie?
I don't know, but I think I don't remember, but I do think. Well, I think didn't the guy who answered the door? There's a guy who answers the door while he's in the bathtub or something. But like
I just thought he had a butler or a roommate.
The only reason I know that is because they said it. You know what I'm saying? Like they've said outside in interviews that he is.
Gotcha.
So like, anyway, but like I only know that because they told me, right? So I'm saying like we don't know anything about him.
No.
Like, so I wonder if they can somehow make the stakes more personal for LeBlanc.
That would make it more interesting for me, for sure. I think it's this weird thing of like LeBlanc he's almost the narrator more than he is a character in these movies. He's more of like this just connective tissue that sometimes represents the audience point of view, that sometimes represents like the writer's point of view. Like he's just an interesting character. And I think that the whodunit genre kind of affords these kind of characters and that other genres don't. Like I don't know how you put that kind of character. And so, I mean, I agree with you I hope Rian Johnson keeps making Knives Out, and I hope he makes other things besides Knives Out. I don't want Knives Out to be over-milked IP, but yeah, I mean, like he's a great, the accent sometimes comes on a little heavy for me, but other than that, like I like him as a character and I like him as a detective. I feel like I can't remember the last like Southern, Cajun, like serial detective. It's always like Poirot or from Agatha Christie or, these like posh, it's a different, it feels like he's like a Southern Louisiana Poirot, kind of like that. I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
Too? I watched Death of the Nile in the last 6 months.
Which is most recent one?
Yeah, it came out, I think, early last year. It's Kenneth Brogdon. It's also got a stacked cast.
Yeah, I saw the first one, the Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, and I think both. Yeah, I didn't really care for it or the second one, really.
It was okay. When I say that's decent, it's like it didn't offend me.
What's part of the thing too. Like, that's Daniel. How does he rate things? 5 out of 5 offended me. 4 out of 5 didn't.
Well, it's just like some things are so bad that it disrupts the whole experience of enjoying the film.
Sure. Yeah. I get that. But my point is, like, you have those coming out, which I love Kenneth Brogdon. I wish he would do everything.
Yeah.
But then you have these others coming out. Like, these others are such at a higher level because also we're a smarter audience than we were 20 years ago.
100%.
And also he's bringing in more modern sensibilities to it too, which I appreciate. I did really love the scene where LeBlanc, whatever his name, he like destroys Edward Norton's plan at the dinner party. Like, he figured, like, he's so excited.
I did like when he figured out the murder mystery immediately. That was great. I love that, and I love that. Like, I love that part of LeBlanc where he's like he's just so dang smart and at figuring stuff out that like he's very much a Sherlock type of character, like that no one else can figure it out but he can, just the way his mind works. And I think
that's fun.
Those are fun. Like, it's fun watching him deal with that socially, like he doesn't know how to turn it off, you know what I mean? And and that's the part of like that felt like, even though that's such a small moment, it felt like we got a glimpse into more of LeBlanc's character, right? Like we got a little bit more of how he works, what makes him tick, and I think that's interesting.
one of the best shots, and it's in the trailer, but one of the best shots of the movie is LeBlanc in the pool wearing like fucking pants or shorts, and he's like, he's got water past his shorts. He's in there sipping on a drink, like with shades on, just he's just thinking so fucking much.
No,
so like, I mean, I think at least Daniel Craig has found I think another fun character. Like he was great as Bond. That time has ended, and again, I kind of
like him more as LeBlanc. I kind of like it more.
I think it's just fun. Like I know his accent
he's fun
sometimes, but it's fun. And so I hope we get more of these. I know we're getting at least 100%. One more because Netflix, that's what they paid for, was 2 and 3 back to back.
Sure.
I'm who knows when that will start shooting or whatever, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I would love to get one that's a little more like, I don't know. I would love to amp up the tension in the next one, like either like a little more, I don't know, maybe he's trying to find a serial killer, you know what I mean, like just a little bit more of like the knife's edge tension of the case itself. And I think that's the one thing too with like Knives Out. Yes, they were trying to find the murderer that killed this guy, and like the stakes were he could kill again, right? And that was kind of here there, but most of the movie no one was expecting, like no one was afraid of a murderer walking around. Kind of thing, like LeBlanc and the twin sister were, because they knew no one else knew had been murdered. So I think one thing is I would just like a little more juiciness in the plot, in the story. Give me something scandalous. Give me something a little dark, a little gruesome or grisly. I think that would.
Well, the genre definitely lends itself to specific, almost structure and just kind of way things are presented.
Sure,
but I also think that, one thing we can say about Rian Johnson is that he typically he likes to mix it up. So maybe, I don't know. I could see the third one maybe being like a similar thing where it's maybe the fourth one's not. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I kind of like keeping the cohesiveness. Like, you could watch any of these, like you're getting the same, like different ice cream flavors, like it's all ice cream, but different flavors. But I wonder, I'm curious, and
I agree.
And God forbid, strike that, colon title out of the thing.
If it's not, there's no way they drop it for the third movie at this point. Like if it's already in the second movie, I feel like then it would just make less sense if it was not in the third title.
In the movie, it just says Glass Onion, and I almost like cheered when I saw it in the beginning. I was like, yes,
in the movie,
it just says Glass Onion.
Oh, in the title.
Yeah, in the movie, like when it shows the title, it doesn't say Glass Onion as a mystery. It only says that.
I like that. That's a good compromise. I think that's a good compromise. The director gets to like present it, because as a title, I get it. It's a much clunkier title. It's much less clean, like aesthetically, and even just in terms of being like succinct with your words. Yes, Glass Onion on its own, much better title. Marketing wise.
Yeah, the big thing too is like the idea is that it's like in those Agatha Christie books, you can read any of them in any order and then different titles, and it feels like, it's like it's its own standalone thing, which may be detrimental.
But here's the different thing is every one of those books says Agatha Christie's title. So so if this was Rian Johnson's Glass Onion and the first one was Rian Johnson's Knives Out, maybe that'd be fine.
That's great. Yeah. I would love that. But
maybe that's what that just should happen with every movie. Like the director's name should be a part of the title. I don't actually think that, but like that would be interesting.
I'm okay with it in some cases, but I mean, to me, but it's called Knives Out because that's like part of the plot of the movie. It's like everyone is stabbing each other in the back. All the knives are out, and there's even a big fucking like.
There's a Glass Onion. Or sorry,
in Knives Out, there's a chair with like all the fucking knives pointing out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, and that's like, and then Glass Onion, there's a big fucking Glass Onion. So I'm saying like, it's kind of weird it's just weird. I get it. I don't talk about it anymore. You're not wrong. Like, I think it's stupid. Anyway, Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
Listeners, you can write into bit.ly/241mail. Let us know what you thought of Glass Onion. Where you are more on my side of the camp, where you still enjoyed the movie, still think it's great, still want more, but there were some definite either downgrades from Knives Out or just some things that you found just didn't quite work for you. Let us know. bit.ly/241mail. Or maybe you're like Donovan and you feel like those things are pretty negligible or didn't really hinder your viewing experience. Let us know about that as well. bit.ly/241mail.
And if you can't hit us up in our ability, you can always find us in the comment section below, youtube.com/241studios, the best place to consume the content. Daniel, we talked about Glass Onion. I can't wait in a couple of years from now to talk about whatever Cullen a Knives Out mystery movie is.
Yes.
And I hope we get more of these. Again, it's a genre that I love, especially when it's done in a fun, way, in a well made way. And I feel like that, we can count on Ryan Johnson to do that for us. And I'm excited for all of 2023, all the cool things we have. I know we had The Last of Us, which is interesting. Like everyone got the whole season already, but we're getting only
the reviewers did.
Yeah,
that's very different than anytime they usually do that. That's
and like it's got like critical acclaim. So that's
it's HBO. I mean, it's HBO's premium HBO content. This isn't the people making stuff for HBO. Like this is like old school HBO making this. Not new school HBO. Yeah,
our boy Craig Mazin is making this. So
exactly.
He's a huge fan of the games.
I mean,
too. It's
right off of Chernobyl, which I think is one of the best pieces of one of the best limited series that we've gotten in like maybe ever.
I still haven't seen it yet. I hear it's really good.
Oh man, I know. So good.
I know. I've
seen the filmmaking is like it makes like gives me shivers. Like how they turn when they use camera moves, how they use the sound. Like it just everything is so intentional and done to be just hitting every point. It's just it gives me goosebumps watching that show. Like as a filmmaker, it's like that's what I want to make. I want to make things that like every line of dialogue, every article of clothing, every text on screen is all just completely working together seamlessly, and it just it's
awesome. I won't lie, just based on the trailer, I'm just the impressions of Last of Us. The filmmaking seems like it's a little lesser than Chernobyl. You know what I'm saying?
I will agree. I like the trailers didn't blow me away, but I mean part of that's the genre. It's going to be. I mean,
it's like shaky cam. It's kind of like
exactly.
Which I'm not.
Were the games shaky cam? Like
no.
Okay.
It's pretty locked down. Actually, I mean, maybe some places, but it's pretty locked down.
It'll be very interesting. I'm very excited to watch the show, even especially as someone that has no connection with the game. I'm just interested to see how that story, because I know the story. I've read the story and gotten bits and pieces on the internet. No, and so I know the ending. I know the twist, but I'm just interested to see how they translate. Like this to me is like a chance for like, oh my gosh, like a direct translation, like taking the first game and turning it into one season of television. And what if they this could be the first time it's nailed out the gate, and that's exciting.
Yeah, they're saying it's the best adaptation of all time for a game, which
that doesn't surprise me.
I don't know. I thought like there's some pretty good ones getting out there, but that everyone, and then we have our episode 149 and 150 of Podcast 2-for-1, where we have Dr. Bruce Hutchinson back to break down Avengers Endgame in a 2-part series, and then we'll be rocking and rolling as we get closer to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Daniel, it was fun talking to you about Glass Onion. My name is Donovan Thompson.
I am Daniel Wingfield.
And we have spoken.